I experienced it myself with my nicotine addiction. People would think that an addiction is in the body. It's like my body is asking for this and other, and if I don't put whatever the substance is in my body, then my body goes on tilt. Of course, this is the
Yes.
first 24 hours of detoxification of your body of any drug or nicotine or whatever it is. And I experienced that it is not the body that is asking for the substance, it is the mind programmed to do the same thing over and over and over again. It is the pathway between the receptors from A to B, from the trigger to the end point, the end result, taking a cigarette in my case.
Yep.
This is how the brain works. Even if it's not healthy for you, it is still your comfort zone. So what feels very comfortable can be very destructive for your life. In my case, smoking, and smoking, of course, is not healthy for anybody. And I smoked a lot, and it's a mind F to say it like this. Because you know you want to do something else, but your brain is telling you every 5 minutes, oh, something's not right. I need a cigarette. I need something in my hand, or there is something out of place. That's the brain doing. Nothing else. Not your muscles, not your heart, not your lungs. Definitely not your lungs. They don't ask to be abused. Your brain is so used to abuse whatever you are doing to yourself. It is the pathway between the receptors in your brain. It's like a highway. Every time you do the same thing, the pathway is widening. So you can compare it with a grassland, a field in a park, and the walkways are around it. At some point, somebody thinks, oh, this is a faster route. So people beginning walking on the grass. And a small path will be cut out within a couple of weeks or months. In a matter of time, there will be a path visible in the grass. This is a new pathway. This is the new route from A to B, like an addiction as cigarettes, because once you started with smoking cigarettes, this pathway, the longer you walk on it, the wider it will be, the more visible it will be. After 20 years of smoking every day, a pack of cigarettes a day, it will be a 6-lane highway instead of a dent in the grass.
Yeah.
And this is where it will go wrong for many people with quitting cigarettes. It's not quitting the cigarette, it's quitting the routine. And the routine is so much more powerful than whatever substance it is. The addiction is literally your routine, what you are doing, and on what time, and the whole pattern about it.
Yep.
This is what I learned, and this is why you don't do it once. You do it every 5 minutes. Every time your routine tells you, oh, it's time for a cigarette, and it's a lot in the beginning. At every point in the way, like getting in the car, smoking in the car, for example. Every time you step in the car, your mind thinks, oh, I recognize this. This is a point where you normally smoke cigarette. Now you don't, of course, but you have to be actively and consciously about it, not smoking a cigarette. This is how you quit smoking, by the way. Every time. It's like in the first 3 months, you will have hundreds and hundreds of impulses to go smoking in every area that you usually smoke cigarettes. So if you didn't fly to a destination with an airplane, in the time being that you have quit smoking cigarettes, maybe it's 15 years later, you will get out of the airplane and immediately your body, your brain would say, okay, what's wrong here? I need to smoke. So all these triggers, all these patterns, they are so deeply engraved in our lives and our way of doing things that we think that we have shed it off, that we lost the bad habit, and there it is, like 20 years later or 1 year later, or at least at some point where you are doing something that you used to do with the old habit.
Yes.
And this is very important to recognize and to be aware of and to be conscious about. If you are conscious, you have the choice to do whatever you want to do. So of course you can take that cigarette and smoke again after 20 years, or you can think, oh, this is interesting. This
Yes.
is old.
Yes.
This is an old pattern. Wow.
But it's a pattern. It's a pattern that you had not played through.
Yeah, you always have a choice.
Even it's 10 years, but it's a new pattern. Since you quit smoking, it's the first time we've had to do this situation.
Yes.
And that triggers it, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And every time, and it usually takes a couple of times that you undermine this trigger of this old pattern.
Yeah.
And I think it's fascinating that the brain works like this, because it's there, I think, to save us and to protect us, and yet you can use it to destroy yourself.
What you said here, I took a little note what you said here, and I thought this is really, really powerful. You don't stop smoking once. You stop every 5 minutes. You have you have to stop over and over. Every situation you got to stop.
Yes.
I think that's very powerful, because most of us think, well, if I smoke one, I stop. No, and that's how it comes back. It's a situation. Very powerful.
It's also it's also doing something else, because stopping is not an active act. Not doing anything is, of course, doing a thing. But it usually works to do something else. The body and the mind always want to have to do something. It's true. You have to quit every 5 minutes, especially in the beginning. And during the weeks that follow and months that follow, you will have less and less powerful triggers to the same pattern, because it's you can imagine that if you stop walking over this grass path, the grass will grow back little bit by little bit. And of course, there will be marks in the ground. That's why addictions are so powerful, because once you open this highway again with one cigarette, it's there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's open wide. So that's why addictions are so powerful for people to battle with or to handle. It's all about knowing how your brain works, because if you know what's happening, you can undermine it. So I would say take action and responsibility for what your brain does, instead of leaning back and thinking, oh my God, what does my body want to do now, like being a passenger of your own car without a driver.
Yes, and that'll be the hard part for people to adjust. Yeah. Give up control. I give up control. My routine's changed, so I have control. It's gone.
Yeah, and it's uncomfortable every time, because your brain wants to do the same thing over and over again.
Yep.
If you do something else, then you're creating a new pathway, and a new pathway is unknown territory.